We don't need that one. Perfect. We are live. We can start now, Himaji.
Okay. So good evening and good morning, everyone. So
Right.
today we start from
Okay,
chapter
you can
14.
start.
Yes, sir. So today we start from chapter 14, alchemy. Alchemy is not a way of producing behavioral change in the
What is the
machine.
meaning of notating?
1 second. Himaji, sorry, we are not able to hear you. 1
Okay.
second. Please, sir. हाँ हेमाजी, अब आप कुछ बोलेंगे प्लीज?
सुनाई दे रहा है अभी?
हाँ, अब सुनाई दे रहा है.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Alchemy is not a way of producing behavioral change in the machine.
Hmm.
It is a way of notating change that occurs on a much deeper level.
Hmm.
It
What
is
is the
not a
meaning of the word notating?
A series or system of written symbols
Mhm.
used to represent numbers, amounts, or elements. So,
Hmm.
a series of notings, like a specific way of noting something down.
Mhm. Hmm. Right. So what is alchemy? It is what do you call changing lead into gold or mercury into gold. That is alchemy. And here the mercury is the sex energy. So mercury rises in a thermometer. So when mercury rises in the Sushumna Nadi, then it is the beginning of alchemy. Yeah.
It is not a cause, but an effect, a reflection of the inner evolution of the essential self.
Right. So as we rise to higher states of consciousness, this upward movement of Mercury should start on its own.
We normally think that we have our whole lives to accomplish this work. But the fact is that our energy for transformation will have dissipated itself by the time we are older.
Right. So there is transformation and transmutation. Alchemy is transmutation. So first there is transformation and then there is transmutation. Right. So first you make the iron into a vessel like a thali or something. That's transformation. And then you change the thali into gold. That is transmutation.
Is there something else in the first paragraph? Where he's saying that it is not about directly behavioral changes in the machine, but changing the essential self. And that change in the essential self will automatically reflect in some changes in the body.
Put it down.
भव्या थोड़ू ऊपर scroll करना. Yeah. Not a way of producing behavioral changes in the machine, but you you've done some changes at the deeper level in the essential self, and that is now reflected in the machine.
Right. So energy, when you use energy, you produce behavior. So this is not a behavioral change. This is a change in the energy itself. Yeah?
Yes.
So change in the energy itself. Right.
So the
Hmm.
the first page is Yam Niyam Asan Pranayama. Is that the iron to plate? Is that the transformation of the raw iron to the plate, like iron plate?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Dharana Dhyan
Dhyana, Dhyan, Samadhi.
is the transmutation.
Go ahead.
We must have completed the transformational process before we run out of the resilience and flexibility required to complete the alchemical process of transformation. We have to start early.
Resilience, એટલે the ability to not be affected by external, adverse external situations.
Does it also mean the will to do the work? The will to do the work.
Resilience.
And flexibility, we must be able to adapt to change. If you become what you call obstinate, then it cannot change.
I think he's also telling this in the context of old age. Like that's what he mentioned in the previous slide, that with old age, typically habits tend to be more fixed, and resilience or ability to adapt to change also reduces. Is there a certain age or time frame which is sort of optimal for?
Alchemy is a discipline in which an individual uses the machine to refine different substances, combining and separating and processing them by various means over a long period of time through the use of slow heat, by which is meant the application of inexorable and unwavering attention, producing a chemical and electrical mutation of the machine, which is only a reflection of a much deeper internal mutation of the essential self.
Can you read this again?
Yes. Alchemy is a discipline in which an individual uses the machine to refine different substances, combining and separating and processing them by various means over a long period of time through the use of slow heat, by which is meant the application of inexorable and unwavering attention, producing a chemical and electrical mutation of the machine.
Right. So, if we, what do you call, first of all, slow moving, what do you call that? What was it?
Slow
Bhavya,
heat.
scroll up.
Slow heat.
Slow heat. right? So the effort in alchemy must be a kind of what you call effortless effort. Now, supposing we take the first refining exercise, right? So we are we are doing the exercise, and we are doing it in a very relaxed, rhythmic way. So it is slow heat over a long period of time, right? So in the first exercise, there'll be certain what you call blockages in the shoulders, in the chest, etc. And we are paying attention to those blockages, which have different energy in them, and we are, by the refining exercises, mixing them to bring about something higher over there. So something will change in the Anahat chakra over there by this whole process. Yeah.
Another interesting thing here is he's equating also the slow heat
Hmm.
to the pressure of attention.
Yeah, so we are not aggressive about the attention. No, we are not. We are not aggressive about the attention.
So regular observation of, let's say, a particular habit, tendency in us, regular self-observation, could that also be a way of using?
This will be more spontaneous self-observation. Right. Yeah.
Shall I read the next paragraph? Okay. With ordinary methods, we can learn chemistry, a very simple subject, wherein we pour a chemical substance from one beaker to another. It is easy to see and measure our results because the process is all external.
Just can you go down again? No, he's gone right, not right down.
Bhavya, just that first paragraph on the
down. Yeah. This paragraph. Again. Now, the blockages in the muscles of the shoulder, they have made an electrical field over there. When we are doing this exercise, the first exercise, we are pushing the thymus gland. So we are producing a chemical reaction in the body, and also because the nerves have formed an electrical field over there, we are changing the electrical field. We're bringing about an electrical mutation. So if you see each of the refining exercises, they are connected to the endocrine system. So when we are doing the exercises, we are bringing about chemical change and electrical change. Where you again, he changed the, where is the?
Bhavya, upar ja. Bas.
So we produce a chemical and electrical mutation of the machine, right? Which is only a deep reflection of a much deeper internal mutation of the essential self. And there's an internal mutation of the essential self, right? And that is, it has been freed from all its primary habits and everything. And again, now attention is no longer machine attention, it is essence attention over here.
In the process of alchemy, however, we are dealing with the chemical factory hidden within the human biological machine.
Yeah. So there is a chemical factory and an electrical field, both together in the human machine.
In this case, we cannot just pour from one beaker to another to obtain exact results. We must stimulate by very precise means definite sectors of the brain and nervous system, which in turn stimulate muscle and nervous system interactions.
Right. So when we are doing the gold nugget, we are stimulating the brain because we are producing carbon dioxide in the system, and carbon dioxide immediately affects the brain and nervous system, right? And then which in turn will stimulate the muscle and nervous system interactions, releasing chemicals through the use of heat and electricity, right? So we are doing the exercise, we are creating heat, right? And this itself is bringing about different changes.
In the gold nugget, towards the end, we do feel a certain type of coolness in various parts of the body, right? In the chest and then maybe in the head. So what is this coolness that is?
Huh?
What is this coolness that is felt?
Some people feel coolness, some people feel heat. It depends. Mr. Tavadeji always said you will feel heat.
Releasing chemicals through the use of heat and electricity, causing substantive changes in the machine. We are not, so the last line after the comma.
Okay.
You just spoke about it. We are not dealing with beakers and test tubes, but with very minute chemical changes which are governed by the glandular system, brain, and nervous system.
See, there is the glandular system, and above the glandular system is the nervous system. It is through the nervous system that the glandular system is stimulated. Right? Now, if you see, the nervous system follows the law of three. There's the sympathetic, parasympathetic, and central nervous system. So the nervous system follows the law of three. And the glandular system, there are 7 glands, so it follows the law of 7. So it is what do you call? It is the whole thing is going according to the law of octaves, right? And where will and the application of will and attention is decided by the brain. Where, right? So in the law of octaves, we'll come to a point where there'll be a gap, and will and attention will be applied by the brain, and we go over that gap. Right?
If we know exactly how to stimulate the brain and nervous system, it will in turn stimulate the glandular system, muscular system, and vascular system, stimulating and retarding chemical changes.
Yeah. So it will stimulate those changes which will relax the muscles and eliminate the memory patterns, and it won't allow the retarding changes of sanskar or memory patterns on the system.
This process of alternate stimulation and retardation was called in the Western alchemical tradition solvate coagula.
Google that.
Yeah. Solve at coagula. Solve means first dissolution. So you break it into small
And then
parts.
coagulation.
Coagulation. Then you reassemble those parts in the right way.
Right. So in the refining exercise, we are going through this continuous process of alternate stimulation and retardation. So when we are doing 1, 2, 3, we are stimulating. And when we are doing 5, 6, there is a retardation. So the whole retardation, what he's talking about in this, the whole thing is there in the refining exercises.
Because we are stimulating the brain and nervous system and not just pouring from one beaker to another, we are forced to use psychological and emotional methods to stimulate the brain and nervous system, which in turn will stimulate the glandular system in an exact way, producing the exact changes we wish to produce.
Right. So when we pour carbon dioxide into the brain, the sympathetic nervous system gets what you call calmed, and the parasympathetic becomes activated, stimulating the parasympathetic activities of the brain, right? And most of these activities we hardly use. So it's like opening up new parts of the brain. And they will have definite psychological and emotional effects which stimulate the brain and nervous system, right? So once the parasympathetic starts working, you will feel a great peace, you'll lose worry, right? So there'll be psychological and emotional methods which will strain the
And
brain and nervous system.
we are
It's okay.
suggest and
Huh?
we are suggest some people that to blocking right nostril at the time of refining exercise
Right,
for
right.
psychological and emotional changes.
Table पर अंदर है table.
Krupa cannot
Suppose
hear. 1 minute. Krupa cannot hear. What is
Can hear. I think everyone else is able to hear fine.
Yeah, it is
Krupa?
audible, clearly
Krupa,
audible.
can you just check at your end if the speaker is working okay?
Manishbhai, can you repeat what you said?
If she cannot hear,
suppose
you'll have to phone her and ask
That
her.
we suggest many friends at the time of refining to block the right nostril so that we can get the desired effect, desired psychological and emotional effect of
Right.
that
When we block the right nostril, you're activating the parasympathetic,
parasympathetic
getting rid
nervous.
of negative emotion, right?
Okay.
And bringing peace and harmony in the brain. So, yeah.
suppose that we know exactly what it is we want to do. Suppose we know, in other words, a method, an exact strategy for change.
Yeah. So all the techniques, supposing that day we talked about subjective mind and universal mind. These are all tactics where you are using the body-brain system to bring about a certain change. And that one where I told you where you breathe out completely, that is an exact strategy for change. We had done that few days ago.
Yes, yes.
So there
Now,
is a
in all
question.
refining exercises, you can block the right nostril. No problem.
During refining.
During refining.
If we were ordinary in our approach and we followed some cookbook or other, we would psychologically stimulate thoughts and emotions, which would in turn stimulate and retard chemical and electrical processes in the machine.
Yeah. So this has to be done under proper guidance, right? We cannot follow some cookbook or something, some recipe or something. Otherwise, instead of activating the parasympathetic, we'll activate the sympathetic nervous system. And and instead of producing what you call chemical processes which bring alchemy, we'll bring chemical processes and electrical processes which will bring retardation. Right?
And we had some cases of doing Bastrika without rhythm, and they have shoot up of the diabetes.
Yeah. I have so many cases of people who went for Vipassana and have got mentally deranged in Vipassana. They can't go back to their normal life, right? So,
We are supposing in this case that the deeper internal transmutation is a product of the machine's change. But the fact is that we do not wish to change the machine directly at all. We wish to use changes in the machine as a roadmap by which we can follow a much deeper inner change.
so this transmutation is a result of the machine working as a transformational apparatus, right? So that is the change in the machine. Now, we do not wish to change the machine directly, right? At all. So we are using what do you call, mainly we use the moving center and different what do you call gestures and different postures to change the machine. So we don't change it directly. We use a posture which changes the machine, right? Now, the changes which happen in the machine, so it will be like as above, so below, or as below, so above. So the changes which happen in the machine will act as a roadmap by which we can understand the changes in the essence.
For example, if we've been able to work on the pattern of reaction or the pattern of pause, we will be able to see that here the machine is more calmer, the machine doesn't react as much.
The machine remains in the present moment.
Now,
if the machine is in the present moment, it is a transformational apparatus, right? So an awake machine is a transformational apparatus, right? So then because of that, we see the changes in the essence. But the changes in the machine are a roadmap to the changes in the essence. So the machine is not reacting, but because the machine is not reacting, animalism which is lying in the essence is getting dissolved.
And that dissolved animalism is in turn changing the machine.
Changing the machine.
In turn changing our behavior, in turn changing our machine. It's a reciprocal relationship.
So the sense is initially very jungly, what we call raw. And through this, we bring about change in the essence, right? But first, that roadmap is given by here, the here the reaction stops. There's a transformation in memory pattern. And these are not just individual memory patterns. They've come from nature for thousands and thousands of years.
Alchemy is not a way of producing change in the machine. It is a way of notating change as it occurs.
Right? So by bringing the machine into the present moment, using it as a transformational apparatus, there's a change in the essence, which goes from notating, step-by-step changing in the essence. There's a step-by-step changing in the drashta swarupe avasthanam, one swarup after the other.
If we were to follow the indications of alchemy, trying to artificially produce alchemical results directly in the machine without the deeper internal change of which they are only a reflection, we would not see real results. Just changing the temperature of the thermometer does not change the temperature of the body.
Right. So, so if we were to produce artificial changes in the machine, right, then it would not have any result on the essence. The essence would still remain jungly, but we force the machine to experience a higher state of consciousness, right? That is, we force the machine to go into the fourth state of consciousness, or the Turiya state, right? And that really will not bring about, because the minute we come back from there, all the, what do you call, the cravings of the machine will take care of whatever it happens over there.
So, sir, like you said,
Go ahead, Himaji.
so like you said, he was talking in the earlier paragraph about directly changing the machine. So does that mean that all the, like you gave the example of Vipassana, is it the example that we wish to change the machine directly?
See, the change has to come in the essence. The machine is just a machine for change, right? But if we force the experience into the machine, right? Supposing I increase the level of carbon dioxide much beyond that which is needed for transformation, right? And the machine goes into a kind of samadhi. Nothing has happened in the essence, right? The essence is as jungly as it was before only, right? So
It
the
goes
machine
into
comes up.
suspension for sometimes.
Huh?
Sanskar goes into suspension for sometimes.
And when he comes back from the samadhi, the primordial essence or the primordial habits of the essence will take over. So you see so many gurus, right? So many gurus today. I mean, they're totally controlled by the primordial habits of the essence, right? They charge massive amounts. They build huge ashrams. They want more disciples. It's sickening, the whole thing which is happening, right? Nothing has changed in the essence. The machine has experienced samadhi, and nothing has changed in the essence. They're just fulfilling their old desires by the use of their new conscious state. Right?
Here the patterns become stronger.
They become much stronger. Now they demand much more. They demand much more. And we see it in all the gurus in India today. You can't find one also who is free of this. Right? Everybody is in this. Yeah.
Bhavya, you have to scroll up. Yeah. Real alchemy is not a cause, but an effect, a reflection of a change in the essential self.
Right. So without changing the behavioral patterns of the machine, you change the essence. And because the essence has changed, the behavior of the machine changes. This is the real key over here. Real key over here.
An alchemical notebook is a traveler's record, a logbook, a map, notating the change which has been brought about in the machine by a deeper internal mutation.
Right. So something has changed into the essence. Now that changing in the essence went step by step. So there was a notation on that. And that change in the essence now brought about a change in the machine, the behavior of the machine.
But can we say we talk about transformation and transmutation? Transmutation are changes happening in the essence, while transformation is still at the level of the machine.
No, first there is a transformation.
So
the machine uses energy.
Yeah.
And the energy is used to bring about a transformation. So lower energies are transformed into higher energies, right? But later on, those energies are transmutated by the essence. They're transmutated into something higher.
So we can say that the capacity of transformation is in the machine, but the capacity of transmutation is in the essence.
In the essence.
In this way, the human biological machine can be utilized both as a transformational apparatus and as a biofeedback device, indicating transformational changes as they occur by noting their effects upon the machine.
So it is like this. Say there is anger. So anger is transformed, right? So anger is transformed, say, into understanding and sympathy. But then that understanding and sympathy is transmutated into compassion. And then compassion is expressed by the machine, but that is a transmutation in the essence.
The quality of compassion is the quality of transmutation.
Compassion is a transmutation. But pausing the anger and transforming the anger is a transformation. But then you have to, for moving from that transformation into a higher state of compassion requires transmutation of those energies.
In the essence.
બંને પેરેલલી થાય છે?
Huh?
Do both happen parallelly?
They can happen parallelly. They can happen parallelly. Our aim is transformation. It is not transmutation. We are nowhere near it also. So don't think about it also. But in your process of transformation, you may get some glimpses of transmutation.
Okay.
All the apparent complexity of alchemy disappears when we realize that all of the alchemical notations are results, not causes, of real changes in the essential self,
The results.
which occur in a cumulative sequence.
So we'll go back to the same example. That I am angry, right? Why am I angry? Somebody has not treated me properly, right? Now I'm observing that anger. I'm not expressing that anger. I'm not allowing that anger to create a pattern in my muscles. I'm relaxing the muscles, right? So the pattern of anger changes and it gives me it releases a kind of force. That force destroys the pattern of anger which is lying in the essence. Now, when there is no pattern of anger inside, then there's a pattern of forgiveness, a pattern of what you call understanding over there of the other person, right? Now, if I hold that for a longer process of time, then it will transform into a very high state of compassion, right? And the expression of compassion will be different from the expression of what you call just sympathy or something of that sort, right?
Dissolution and coagulation. What?
Yeah, dissolution and coagulation.
Solve at coagula.
So it coagulates into compassion.
Compassion.
It coagulates into compassion.
So the alchemical sequence notated.
Can you see the difference between what you call sympathy and
compassion?
Sympathy and compassion, right? Can somebody tell the difference between sympathy and compassion?
Sir, in sympathy, I am separate. watching, different. But in compassion, I feel myself in him, kind of. That's compassion.
In sympathy, I'm vibrating exactly the way that person is vibrating. So in sympathy, I want to change the situation. Can you understand? But in compassion, I want to change the cause of the situation.
Passion is looking for a longer.
Yeah. There's the cause of the. So the very famous example. I'll give a very famous example. Right? Lazarus has died. Lazarus has died. So the relatives of the Lazarus come to Jesus and he says that, please bring him back to life. So Jesus says, Lazarus, rise from your grave, and Lazarus rises from the grave. Yeah. So this is sympathy. This is pity, sympathy, right? Now one lady comes to Buddha and she has her dead child, small child in the hand, and she says, you can give him life back. So Buddha says, I can give him life back, but you bring to me one grain of rice from any house where the death has not happened. Now this is compassion. Can you understand? And that is what you call pity and sympathy, what Jesus said. So when you, the transformation is from anger or taking revenge, those, they transform into sympathy and pity. But the higher transformation is, alchemical transformation is, compassion, where you see the cause of it and you go to the cause of that, right? So that is there.
What is blessing? Blessings?
Blessings is when you're empty and you're deserving of higher vibrations, they flow into you. That is blessings.
No, when we say that we bless you or something, does it mean anything?
It does. It does. It changes the aura at that moment. It changes the vibration tone. Supposing she is going on a journey, and I say, have a safe journey, but it has an effect. It has a positive effect.
So empathy, and we're talking about sympathy, and you talk about compassion. Where does it? Oh,
Loudly.
empathy. Where does that come? Where you're talking about compassion and then empathy, pretty much on the same sort of idea.
Sympathy is I'm feeling what she's going through and I'm feeling the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm sympathizing with her. Right?
Right.
Empathy is that there has been a radical change within me and that light is coming out and falling upon. Can you understand what I'm trying to say?
How's that different from compassion? Because you're feeling
that is compassion.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So when that inner light comes out, when the inner lamp is lit, the byproduct is compassion, light in the form of compassion, light in the form of what you call forgiveness, right? But it is universal. Can you get it? Sympathy is individual, right? This, once the light has awakened within me, the light has started within me, then even if my worst enemy comes in front of me, the light will fall upon it. It is, I am helpless now. Can you get it?
Yeah.
Whilst in sympathy, there's still a choice. I may not sympathize with my enemy, but I will sympathize with her. Can you understand what I'm So in compassion, it is, you don't have a free choice over there. The lamp has lit and whoever comes in front of the lamp, the light will fall upon them.
Can you say that with sympathy is a fear also attached with the sympathy? That, something like this might happen to me as well.
That is not sympathy. That is self-pity. That is self-pity. That is pity and self-pity. It is much lower than sympathy. Pity is a negative emotion. Sympathy is a positive emotion.
Sympathize with somebody.
I sympathize. I'm going through exactly what she is going through. I'm sympathizing. I'm vibrating at the same level. Right? But
It is a kind of external considering.
huh? A form of external concept. It is a
Form
form
of
of
external considering.
but compassion, forgiveness, these are much higher emotions. Much higher emotions.
When an alchemical event occurs in the machine, we can check it against our roadmap to see our progress and determine our next step according to our work strategy.
Yeah. So now we are looking at our roadmap, and say we take one in our roadmap, we take one pattern, the feeling of revenge. That I want to take revenge on someone. Right? Now, I see someone and I forgive that person, or there is forgiveness over there. Right? But so I think that there has been a transmutation in my essence, and I'm in forgiveness. But if I look at my roadmap, I still see that in my what do you call pattern, I will not take revenge upon her, but I may take revenge upon her. Can you understand? Right? So then the roadmap is not proper. So the pattern of revenge is still lying within me. I just don't want to take revenge on an individual level. So till the whole pattern of revenge does not dissolve, I cannot move into forgiveness. It is not possible.
Yeah. Very tough to do, but yes.
So in forgiveness, it is universal. I have no choice, right? But in sympathy, I have a choice. And so I have to note in the machine that is it still at an individual level or has it moved to the universal level?
And we can be sure that this change in the essential self has occurred unless we have acted directly upon the machine to produce this change artificially just for our personal enhancement.
So I may have, worked so hard on the machine to create a habit of forgiveness, right? And if you see in all these kathas, the people who are sitting in front are wearing a chadar of Ram Ram. So everything is fine over there, right? But when you go in their homes, all of them are practicing Ravan Ravan, right? So there's no real change. But I can, train the machine, and somebody else will feel that it is real change while it is not real change at all.
There's just a different eye.
Could be a crystallized eye also.
So every eye has a different.
See, I shouldn't say this, but we'll just talk about it. When Mother Teresa's this thing started, the movement, it was a beautiful movement. Mother Teresa is saying, I see a child crying, I see Jesus is crying, I see a child suffering, I see. So she's in that state of consciousness, the objective state of consciousness, right? Turiya. Then she got the Nobel Prize, right? A lot of money started flowing into this thing. And suddenly everything changed. She will look after a Christian child. She won't look after this thing. Suddenly that discrimination came in. I won't call it discrimination, but that, what do you call it? Comparison, that this is a Christian child. So somewhere that pattern was still there in her. I am Christian, I am this. Can you get it? Right? So the real transformation was not real over there.
So even if you reach those states, it can, other eyes can come over, take over.
That's why what you're mentioning yesterday, the importance of going to the third stage.
Because some people enter the fourth state directly, of course, and they don't go through self-consciousness, what we are talking about.
It is possible.
So then this change artificially just for a personal enhancement, my personal view, that this is Christian and this is not Christian. Or she, in her case, it would be Catholic and not Catholic.
It is possible to artificially produce what are alchemical changes in the machine without the cause. What is called the first cause or the first water. The first cause is the deep change occurring in the essential self.
So the essential self is jungly, violent, and the first cause, change in the essential self has to be that it won't react. Right? But we can train the machine not to react, right? And we may feel that but that has not happened. The real baptism has not happened of the essence, right? So what they say in Christianity, that John was baptizing everyone. He said, I baptize you with water, and then one will come who will baptize you with fire, right? So that fire is the heat which has to bring the change from the personality to the essence, right? Shall we stop here?
Okay, sir.
Right. Bolo. Anything?
Okay.
Anyone wants to ask?
Thank you.
Anything? Anyone wants to ask anything?
Rajan, where
Vimal
are
hasn't
you right
come
now?
today, Vimal? Huh? Vimal has not come today?
વિમલ હતો, જોડાયો હતો.
છે ને બાપુ, વિમલ ક્યાં જવાનો? તમને છોડીને જવાનો નથી. લવ યુ બાપુ, લવ યુ.
Right. Chalo.
Right. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Have a nice
Bye,
weekend.
everyone. Take care.
Thank you, bapu.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.